Chief, marry my ugly daughter or leave." The rancher agreed. When he lifted the veil, he was shocked. A rancher by profession, he had grown up surrounded by acres of rolling grasslands, the scent of earth after rain, and the constant rhythm of livestock moving under the sun. He was practical, hardworking, and always saw life in terms of decisions and results. But lately, a challenge had arrived, one that no amount of experience with cattle or land could easily solve. His ranch, which had been in his family for generations, was facing financial difficulties. New competitors had moved into the area, and the weather had been unkind, leaving Thomas worried about the future. He needed a solution, a way to secure the stability of his land and protect the life he had built. It was during this tense period that he received a message from a remote village far from the familiar fields he had always known. The message was simple. The village chief wished to meet him about a possible business partnership. Curious, Thomas decided to take the long journey. He traveled for hours through winding country roads, past hills and rivers, and finally arrived at the village, a place unlike anything he had ever seen. Here, life moved differently. The people were closely knit, moving in harmony with the land around them. Children played freely along dusty paths, women worked in gardens and crafts, and men tended livestock with a gentle skill that spoke of generations of knowledge. The village itself seemed alive, breathing with traditions and respect for the land. Thomas was met by Chief Red Elk, the respected leader of the village. The chief was tall and broad-shouldered, with an air of authority that seemed to demand both respect and attention. His eyes, sharp yet kind, observed Thomas carefully as he extended a hand in greeting. "Welcome, Thomas Harding," the chief said, his voice calm but commanding. "I hear you are a man of skill and knowledge about ranching. We may have an opportunity for you, but it comes with a condition." Thomas's curiosity piqued. "A condition?" he asked, tilting his head. He was used to contracts, agreements, and negotiations, but something in the chief's tone suggested that this condition would not be like any he had encountered before. The chief nodded solemnly. "Yes, I must ask that you marry my daughter. Only then will our partnership be complete. Only then can we ensure that our land, our people, and your plans can work together." Thomas blinked, momentarily taken aback. Marry the chief's daughter. This was a strange and unexpected request. In all his years of ranching and business dealings, he had never encountered a situation like this. He looked at the chief carefully, trying to read whether this was a joke, a test, or a serious request. But the chief's expression remained firm, without humor or hesitation. Why marriage?" Thomas asked, genuinely puzzled. "I am here to discuss ranching, trade, and livestock. Why must marriage be involved?" The chief's gaze did not waver. "Our traditions are strong," he explained. "Family, trust, and unity are the foundation of our land. A partnership without connection is not enough. To work together, to share our resources, and to ensure that the land thrives, you must become part of this family. My daughter is the key to that bond. Only with her by your side can you truly understand and respect our ways." Thomas rubbed the back of his neck, a mixture of confusion and disbelief settling over him. He had not anticipated anything like this. The idea of marrying a stranger, someone he had never met, was daunting. And yet, he could not ignore the opportunity that lay before him. This partnership could save his ranch, secure his future, and create a connection that might benefit both sides. He also realized that rejecting the chief outright could damage his reputation and his chance to continue in the area. After a long pause, Thomas spoke. I don't know if I can accept this. I've never met your daughter, I don't know her. How can I agree to something so important without understanding who she is?" The chief's eyes softened slightly, though his voice remained firm. "You will meet her soon. But know this, our daughter is not conventional in appearance. Some might call her plain or even unattractive. That matters little to us. What matters is her heart, her mind, and her spirit." If you can see her value beyond appearance, then you will find the partnership and friendship we offer to be strong and lasting." Thomas's eyebrows rose. "Unattractive," he repeated, trying to mask a mixture of surprise and discomfort. He had been warned about many things in life, but the idea of marrying someone described in such a way was entirely new. Yet, beneath the initial shock, a part of him recognized the wisdom in the chief's words. He had always respected intelligence, kindness, and capability over superficial beauty. Perhaps he could trust the chief's judgment. Still, doubts lingered. Could he truly marry a woman he had never seen, merely because a chief demanded it? Could he set aside his own expectations and learn to value someone for her inner qualities first? These questions churned in his mind as he pondered the path ahead. Finally, Thomas nodded slowly, taking a deep breath. "Very well," he said. "I will agree. I will marry your daughter, but I ask only one thing, that I meet her first to understand the person I am committing to. After that, I will honor whatever traditions and agreements are necessary." The chief's lips curved into a small smile, one that held both relief and approval. "That is all we ask. You will see her soon. And remember, Thomas Harding, true strength comes not only from land and livestock, but from the bonds we build with people. Our daughter is wise and capable. She will surprise you in ways you cannot yet imagine." The meeting concluded with formalities, and Thomas was led to a modest guest house in the village, where he would stay before meeting the chief's daughter. He spent the evening walking among the village paths, observing the daily life of the people. He saw children helping each other, elders teaching younger generations about farming and traditions, and families working side by side. A sense of community and harmony filled the air, and he realized that this village was more than just a place for a business deal. It was a living, breathing world of knowledge, respect, and human connection. As the night fell and the stars appeared above, Thomas lay awake in the guest house, thinking about the unusual journey he had embarked upon. He knew the days ahead would challenge his assumptions, test his patience, and stretch his understanding of love and respect. The thought of meeting the chief's daughter filled him with both curiosity and nervous anticipation. Who was this woman? Would he find it easy to see beyond appearances, as the chief suggested? And perhaps most importantly, could he honor the tradition and trust that had been placed in his hands? Morning arrived with a soft, golden light spilling across the village. Birds chirped in the trees, and the scent of fresh bread and herbs drifted through the air. Thomas rose early, eager to meet the woman who was about to change his life. He was led by a young villager along winding paths lined with wildflowers and small streams. Every step seemed to heighten his anticipation. The village itself seemed to hum with energy, as though it too was aware of the important meeting about to take place. Finally, they reached a quiet courtyard where a young woman was waiting. Thomas's heart quickened. He knew this was the moment he had been preparing for, the moment that would define the path ahead. But even as he prepared to meet her, he reminded himself of the chief's words. Look beyond appearance, see her heart, her mind, her spirit. The young woman stepped forward, her eyes meeting his with a mixture of curiosity and calm confidence. She wore simple clothes, her hair neatly tied back, and her posture reflected a quiet strength. She was not adorned in jewels or extravagant clothing, but something about her presence commanded attention, not through beauty, but through character. Thomas felt a strange mixture of relief, respect, and a dawning realization that perhaps the chief's description had not been a warning at all, but a lesson waiting to unfold. And so began the journey that would test Thomas's understanding of trust, tradition, and love. A journey that would teach him that true value is measured not in appearances, but in heart, courage, and the ability to embrace life in all its unexpected ways. After the initial meeting, Thomas Harding found himself walking through the village with a mixture of curiosity and quiet nervousness. The young woman, Lily, moved beside him with a calm grace, showing neither arrogance nor discomfort. She was modest in appearance, but there was a subtle strength in her eyes and a gentle confidence in her manner that Thomas could not ignore. Every small gesture she made seemed deliberate yet natural, as if she understood the rhythms of life better than most. As they walked, Thomas tried to understand more about her, but Lily spoke sparingly at first, answering questions with short, polite responses. She was cautious, yet not cold. She observed him with quiet intelligence, and Thomas realized that she was not someone who would simply follow his lead without thought. She was strong in her own way, though her strength was hidden beneath a calm exterior. The villagers, noticing Thomas with Lily, gave them warm smiles and respectful nods. Thomas had never experienced such a welcoming community, where everyone seemed connected and aware of each other's lives. He began to sense that marrying into this family would be very different from any relationship he had known before. It was not about appearances, wealth, or status. It was about understanding, respect, and shared responsibility. The chief, seeing Thomas's thoughtful expressions, decided to give him a glimpse of the life Lily led every day. "You will see who she truly is," the chief said, his voice firm but kind. "She works alongside our people. She knows the land, the animals, and the ways of our village. Do not judge her lightly." Over the next several days, Thomas observed Lily in her daily routines. She rose early each morning to help with chores, tending to gardens, feeding animals, and assisting the elders with their tasks. Her movements were careful and precise, showing a deep understanding of each responsibility. She did not rush, nor did she complain. Instead, she carried herself with a quiet dignity that drew Thomas's attention repeatedly. One morning, Thomas followed Lily to the livestock pens, where she was feeding the animals. He noticed how gently she handled the young calves, her hands careful yet confident. She spoke softly to them, as if communicating an understanding beyond words. Thomas, who had raised cattle all his life, was surprised at the level of care she showed. It was clear she had grown up learning to respect all living things, not just to care for them. Her work was not just a duty but a reflection of her character, patient, compassionate, and disciplined. Later, he watched her help an elderly woman carry baskets of vegetables from the garden. Lily moved quickly to assist, carrying more than her share and offering kind words to encourage the woman. Thomas began to see a side of her that was rarely highlighted in stories of beauty or appearance. Her attractiveness was not measured in looks alone. It came from her actions, her empathy, and her unwavering commitment to her community. Curiosity led Thomas to ask Lily questions about her life and her thoughts. She answered thoughtfully, revealing a sharp mind and a sense of humor that was subtle but genuine. They spoke about the land, the animals, the history of the village, and her dreams for the future. Thomas was surprised at how articulate and insightful she was. Her perspective was unique, shaped by her upbringing and by her deep connection to the people around her. During their conversations, Thomas noticed something else. Lily had a quiet resilience. She had faced challenges in her life, small but significant, and had learned to approach them with calm determination. She spoke of obstacles not as burdens but as opportunities to learn and grow. Thomas admired her mindset, realizing that this inner strength was far more important than any superficial qualities he had once valued. The villagers began to see Thomas differently as well. At first, some were cautious, unsure of how he would fit into their community. But as he observed Lily and tried to understand her world, they saw that he was genuinely interested in learning and respecting their traditions. Children would run up to him with questions, elders would share stories of the land, and neighbors would invite him to help with small tasks. Each experience taught him more about humility, patience, and the importance of connection. One afternoon, Thomas accompanied Lily to a small school in the village where she helped teach children. The children adored her, laughing and learning under her guidance. She explained simple lessons with clarity and warmth, using stories and examples that made learning fun. Thomas realized that her kindness extended beyond personal interactions. It had a ripple effect, touching everyone around her. He watched as a shy child gained confidence under her encouragement, and he felt an unexpected admiration for the way she nurtured those in her care. Evening brought them back to the chief's home, where meals were shared communally. Thomas sat quietly, observing the rituals and routines of the family. He noticed the respect Lily commanded without demanding it, the way people listened to her suggestions, and the natural authority she held. She did not need to assert herself forcefully. Her presence alone conveyed wisdom and reliability. Thomas began to understand that this was the true measure of beauty, strength, integrity, and the ability to make a positive difference in the lives of others. One night, Thomas and Lily walked along a path that overlooked the village and the surrounding fields. The sky was painted in shades of pink and gold as the sun set behind the distant hills. Thomas felt a mixture of admiration and confusion. He had come expecting to marry someone based on a condition, someone he had assumed would be ordinary in every sense. But Lily was anything but ordinary. "You seem surprised," Lily said quietly, her eyes reflecting the fading light. Thomas hesitated before speaking. I did not expect to meet someone like you," he admitted. "You are different from what I imagined, strong, kind, and capable. It is more than I expected, and yet I find myself wondering how I can be worthy of someone like you." Lily smiled faintly, a gentle expression that did not hide her sincerity. "We are all learning, Thomas. Life is about understanding each other, about seeing what lies beneath the surface. You do not need to be perfect, nor do I. We simply need to see and respect each other for who we are." Her words struck Thomas deeply. For the first time in many years, he felt a shift in his thinking. He realized that his previous ideas of love, attraction, and partnership had been limited, shaped by appearances and superficial expectations. Lily's presence, her perspective, and her quiet strength challenged everything he thought he knew. Over the following days, Thomas became more involved in the village's daily life. He helped with chores, learned local techniques for farming and caring for animals, and spent time with the children, teaching them lessons from his own experience. He was no longer an outsider merely observing. He was becoming a participant, learning the values that Lily and her community held dear. Each day brought new insights, new challenges, and a growing respect for the woman he was about to marry. Meanwhile, Lily continued to show patience and understanding. She guided Thomas without judgment, answered his questions thoughtfully, and shared her knowledge freely. There were moments of laughter, small successes, and even occasional disagreements, but through it all, a bond was forming between them. Not yet love, perhaps, but a foundation of trust, respect, and mutual admiration that would support whatever came next. One morning, Thomas found himself reflecting on how much he had learned in such a short time. The village, the people, and especially Lily had changed his perspective. He had come seeking a solution for his ranching problems, expecting a business arrangement, perhaps a superficial connection at best. Instead, he had discovered a world of values, wisdom, and human connection that went far beyond any deal or agreement. He realized that the chief had been right. This was not about appearances. Lily's inner qualities, her kindness, her intelligence, and her connection to the village were far more important than any superficial measure of beauty. And he understood for the first time that a meaningful partnership, whether in life, love, or business, was built on trust, respect, and shared purpose, not on appearances or convenience. The days turned into a week, and Thomas noticed that the villagers had grown accustomed to seeing him with Lily. Their curiosity had turned into quiet acceptance, and Thomas himself felt a sense of belonging he had never experienced. He began to look forward to the moments he spent with Lily, learning from her and seeing the world through her eyes. Finally, the chief called Thomas to a private conversation. "You have seen her ways, Thomas," the chief said gently. "You have watched her care for this village and its people. You have learned much, and I hope you understand why this marriage is important. Not because of appearances, but because of heart, mind, and spirit. You must decide if you are ready to honor this commitment, not for tradition alone, but for what you now know of Lily." Thomas nodded, his mind full of reflection. "I understand," he said. "I see her for who she is, and I respect her. I do not yet know everything, but I want to continue learning. I want to honor her and this community." The chief smiled. "That is all we ask. Time will teach you more than words ever could." As Thomas returned to his quarters that evening, he thought about the journey ahead. He no longer felt the nervousness and uncertainty of the first day. Instead, he felt anticipation and curiosity, a willingness to grow and understand, and a sense that something significant was beginning, something far more meaningful than any business deal or obligation. He knew that the days to come would test him in ways he could not yet imagine, but he also knew that with patience, respect, and an open heart, he could meet those challenges. And somewhere deep within, he felt the first spark of admiration for the woman who had changed his perspective and challenged him to see the world in a completely new way. The morning of the wedding arrived with a soft glow of sunlight spilling across the village. Thomas Harding awoke with a mix of anticipation and nervousness he had never felt before. Today, he would officially marry Lily, the young woman who had already begun to change the way he saw the world. Yet, despite the days he had spent observing her strength and kindness, a part of him still wondered what the ceremony would truly reveal about her. The village was alive with activity. Children ran along the paths, carrying flowers to decorate the communal square. Villagers moved quickly, preparing food, setting up chairs, and arranging colorful fabrics. There was an energy in the air, a combination of excitement and reverence, as everyone prepared for a momentous occasion. The entire community had gathered, each person contributing in their own way, eager to witness and participate in a tradition that had been passed down for generations. Thomas dressed in his finest attire, a simple yet dignified outfit that reflected his practical nature. He looked at himself in the mirror, adjusting his coat, brushing his hair back, and taking a deep breath. Today was not about appearances, he reminded himself. It was about trust, commitment, and understanding. Still, the nervous flutter in his stomach refused to settle. When he stepped outside, he saw Lily standing at the far end of the courtyard, waiting. She wore a traditional dress of the village, simple yet elegant, with embroidery that told the story of her family and their connection to the land. Her hair was neatly arranged, and a delicate veil covered her face. Even with the veil, Thomas could sense her poise and quiet strength. She was calm, composed, and dignified, ready to step into a new chapter of her life with confidence. The ceremony began with the chief addressing the gathered crowd. His voice, firm yet gentle, carried across the courtyard. "Today, we witness the joining of two lives, not just for love but for trust, understanding, and respect. Thomas Harding has come to our village, willing to learn and honor our traditions. Lily has shown patience, wisdom, and kindness, qualities that define her beyond appearance. Today, they step forward together, guided by the values of our people." Thomas stood at the front of the gathering, his eyes fixed on Lily, who remained a few steps away. He felt the weight of the moment, the responsibility he had agreed to, and the trust placed in him by the chief and the village. He reminded himself of everything he had learned over the past days: patience, humility, respect, and the importance of seeing beyond surface appearances. He realized that he was no longer approaching this marriage as a mere obligation. It was an opportunity to embrace someone extraordinary, someone whose inner qualities had already begun to teach him about life in ways he had never imagined. As the ceremony progressed, villagers offered blessings, traditional songs were sung, and rituals that had been passed down for generations were performed. Thomas observed everything carefully, participating to the best of his ability. He felt a deep connection not only to Lily, but also to the community that had welcomed him so warmly. Every gesture, every smile, every word spoken during the ceremony reinforced the importance of unity, respect, and shared purpose. Finally, the moment arrived when Thomas would lift Lily's veil. His heart raced as he reached out, remembering the chief's words. True beauty lies not in appearances, but in heart, mind, and spirit. He prepared himself for a revelation that might surprise him, a moment that would test everything he had learned about judgment, expectation, and understanding. With a steady hand, he lifted the delicate veil. And in that instant, he was overwhelmed, not by shock in the way he had feared, but by the realization of what he had been missing all along. Lily's face, illuminated by the morning sun, radiated a quiet confidence and grace that went far beyond physical beauty. Her eyes, clear and intelligent, met his with a calm warmth, and her gentle smile conveyed a depth of kindness and understanding that left him speechless. Thomas felt a rush of emotions: relief, admiration, respect, and something deeper he had not yet named. All the doubts and preconceptions he had carried dissolved in that single moment. He understood what the chief had meant. Lily's true value was not in outward appearance, but in the qualities that could only be seen through observation, patience, and connection. Her inner strength, her empathy, and her intelligence were far more powerful than anything superficial. The villagers, sensing the significance of the moment, offered smiles and nods of approval. Thomas felt a sense of belonging, a bond not just with Lily but with the entire community. He realized that this marriage was not simply a union of two individuals. It was a merging of values, traditions, and shared respect. The lessons he had learned over the past days had prepared him for this moment, teaching him humility, patience, and the ability to appreciate qualities that were deeper than the eye could see. As the ceremony continued, Thomas and Lily exchanged vows. The words spoken were simple but meaningful, emphasizing trust, partnership, and mutual respect. Thomas promised to honor Lily, to support her, and to work together to care for the land and the community. Lily, in turn, expressed her willingness to share her life, her knowledge, and her strengths, creating a partnership built on understanding and shared purpose. Thomas noticed the small details that made the ceremony so special. The way Lily's hand rested gently in his, the careful coordination of the village elders, the respectful attention of the children, and the warmth of the crowd. All these elements combined to create a moment that was both intimate and communal. He realized that beauty and value were expressed not just through physical appearance, but through actions, relationships, and the ability to positively influence the world around them. After the vows, the villagers celebrated with music, dancing, and shared meals. Thomas participated with a newfound sense of joy, no longer constrained by nervousness or hesitation. He observed Lily laughing with the children, speaking thoughtfully with elders, and moving gracefully among the villagers. Each interaction reinforced the lessons he had learned. Strength, kindness, and wisdom create a presence far more powerful than any outward appearance. In the evening, after the celebrations, Thomas and Lily walked together along a quiet path near the edge of the village. The sky was painted with shades of pink and orange, and the gentle sound of a nearby stream added to the serene atmosphere. Thomas reflected on the day, realizing how much he had learned and how deeply his perspective had changed. He turned to Lily, feeling a mixture of gratitude and admiration. "You've taught me more than I expected," he said quietly. "Not just about life here, but about what really matters. I see now that beauty and value are so much more than what I once believed." Lily smiled, a soft expression that carried understanding and warmth. "And you've shown that you are willing to learn," she replied. "We all have lessons to share, and today we begin a journey together. There will be challenges, but with respect and understanding, we can face them as partners." Thomas felt a surge of hope and determination. He realized that this marriage was not just an obligation or a solution to a problem. It was an opportunity for growth, partnership, and genuine connection. He looked at Lily, appreciating not only her presence but also the wisdom and kindness that she carried within her. Over the next days, Thomas continued to participate in village life, now fully accepted as part of the community. He and Lily worked side by side, tending to livestock, helping with agricultural tasks, and learning from one another. Their partnership grew naturally, strengthened by shared experiences, mutual respect, and a deepening understanding of each other's character. The villagers, seeing Thomas's dedication and sincerity, welcomed him fully. Children followed him with questions. Elders shared stories of the land, and neighbors sought his advice. Thomas began to understand that marriage in this context was more than a personal commitment. It was a responsibility to contribute to the life and well-being of an entire community. Even in private moments, Thomas continued to learn from Lily. She taught him to observe carefully, listen deeply, and appreciate the small details of life that often went unnoticed. He found himself drawn to her wisdom, patience, and humor, discovering a connection that went far beyond expectations. Each day spent together strengthened their bond, creating a partnership that was rooted in respect, admiration, and shared purpose. One evening, as they sat near the stream watching the stars appear in the sky, Thomas reflected on the journey so far. He realized that he had come seeking a business solution, expecting a superficial arrangement, and instead had found a life-changing experience. Lily's inner qualities had revealed to him a new way of seeing the world, one in which compassion, patience, and understanding were far more important than appearances or convenience. "I am grateful," he said softly, looking at her. "Not just for today, but for everything I've learned from you. You've shown me what truly matters." Lily smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "And you've shown me that a willing heart can grow, learn, and change. Together, we can face whatever comes next, supporting each other and those around us." Thomas felt a deep sense of peace and anticipation. The wedding had not only united them, but had also created a foundation of trust, respect, and understanding that would guide their life together. He knew that the days ahead would bring new challenges, but he also knew that with Lily by his side, they could face them with strength, patience, and a shared sense of purpose. As the village slept under the quiet glow of the moon, Thomas and Lily sat together, reflecting on the events of the day. It was a day of revelation, understanding, and transformation, a day that marked the beginning of a partnership built not on appearances, but on the deeper qualities that truly define a person. Thomas realized that the lessons he had learned would stay with him forever, shaping his character, his decisions, and his heart. The ceremony, the reveal, and the celebrations had been more than a wedding. They had been a journey of discovery. Thomas had discovered the true meaning of beauty, the importance of character, and the value of shared trust and respect. And as he looked at Lily, he knew that their life together would be guided by these lessons, creating a partnership that was strong, enduring, and deeply meaningful. The days after the wedding were filled with a new rhythm for Thomas Harding. He had entered the village as an outsider, cautious and uncertain about the unusual agreement that had brought him there. Now, he walked among the people as part of a community, a partner to Lily, and a student of the life that he had once only observed from a distance. Every morning, the sun rose over the hills, casting golden light across the fields, and Thomas felt a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. Lily's presence continued to teach him lessons, not through lectures or instruction, but through her actions, her thoughts, and her gentle guidance. She was patient, understanding, and deeply connected to the people around her. Thomas saw her interacting with the villagers, helping the elders repair fences, teaching children about the animals, and offering advice to those who sought her counsel. Every interaction revealed qualities that went beyond what he could have imagined, and he realized more and more that the chief's decision had been wise. Together, Thomas and Lily began working on the ranch and the surrounding fields. At first, Thomas tried to take charge in the ways he had always known, planning, organizing, and directing. But Lily's insight soon showed him that there were other approaches, ways that respected the land, the people, and the traditions of the village. She explained how the timing of planting, the care of livestock, and even the way water was managed could affect the long-term success of the land. Thomas listened carefully, gradually setting aside old assumptions and learning to work in harmony with her knowledge. There were moments of frustration, of course. Thomas, accustomed to being the one in control, sometimes struggled to adjust to the patience and attention required in this new way of managing the land. But Lily's calm guidance and encouragement helped him see that mistakes were not failures, they were lessons. Slowly, he began to adopt a mindset that was less about immediate results and more about thoughtful care and sustainable growth. Beyond the work, Thomas and Lily spent time together in the simple joys of life. They walked along the streams, tending to the flowers and trees, watched sunsets over the hills, and shared quiet conversations under the stars. These moments were not grand or dramatic, but they were filled with meaning. Thomas learned to appreciate the small details, the way Lily laughed at a child's joke, how she noticed the subtle changes in the weather, and the gentle way she encouraged the animals to move calmly. Every detail deepened his admiration for her and strengthened the bond between them. The villagers, too, played an important role in the couple's journey. They shared stories of their ancestors, teaching Thomas about the history, values, and lessons that had shaped the community. He listened intently, absorbing the wisdom that had been passed down for generations. Through these stories, he learned that Lily's character was not merely innate. It had been nurtured by her family, her traditions, and the environment in which she had grown. Thomas gained a new appreciation for the interconnectedness of people, land, and culture, realizing that his partnership with Lily was not just personal, but also part of a larger, living story. One day, as Thomas worked alongside Lily in the fields, he paused to watch her guide a young boy in planting seeds. The boy looked unsure, but Lily's gentle encouragement gave him confidence. Thomas realized that her influence extended far beyond the immediate tasks. She inspired growth, not only in plants and animals, but in the hearts and minds of those around her. He felt a deep sense of gratitude, not only for her presence in his life, but for the wisdom she shared so freely. As the seasons changed, Thomas noticed a transformation within himself. The man who had arrived worried about business deals and appearances was no longer the same. He had learned patience, empathy, and humility. He had learned to see value in actions, character, and understanding rather than surface-level judgments. And most importantly, he had developed a genuine respect and affection for Lily, which had grown quietly and steadily, like the plants they nurtured together. Their relationship evolved naturally, strengthened by shared experiences and mutual respect. Thomas began to notice the little things that made Lily extraordinary. The way she anticipated the needs of others, her quiet determination in difficult tasks, and her ability to remain calm and thoughtful even under pressure. He found himself seeking her guidance, not out of obligation, but because he trusted her wisdom and valued her perspective. One evening, after a long day of work, Thomas and Lily sat near the edge of the fields, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The sky was painted in warm shades of orange and pink, and the gentle breeze carried the scent of wildflowers and fresh grass. Thomas turned to Lily, feeling a mixture of admiration and gratitude. "You've changed my life," he said softly. "I came here expecting a simple agreement, a solution to a problem, and instead I've found so much more. You've taught me patience, understanding, and the importance of looking beyond appearances. I'm grateful for every lesson, every moment, and every day we spend together." Lily smiled, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "And you've shown that a willing heart can grow and adapt," she replied. "We've learned together, and that is what makes this partnership strong. Life is not just about one person's path. It's about walking together, learning from each other, and building something meaningful." Thomas felt a warmth in his chest, a realization that his journey had not just been about marrying Lily, but about becoming a better version of himself. He saw now that true partnership required effort, understanding, and respect. He had arrived as a man focused on practical concerns, but he was now a man who valued compassion, wisdom, and shared growth. As the months passed, Thomas and Lily faced new challenges together. Weather conditions sometimes threatened crops, animals occasionally fell ill, and unexpected difficulties arose in the management of the land. Yet, through every trial, they worked side by side, combining Thomas's practical knowledge with Lily's intuitive understanding. Their teamwork was seamless, built on trust and mutual respect. Each challenge they overcame strengthened their bond and deepened their appreciation for one another. The villagers watched the couple with pride and admiration. Thomas had not only honored the chief's trust but had also become an integral part of the community. He was no longer just an outsider or a visitor. He was a partner, a friend, and a valued member of the village. The lessons he had learned from Lily and the people around them shaped not only his actions, but also his perspective on life, love, and human connection. One day, as Thomas and Lily walked through the fields, he noticed the way the sunlight caught her hair and the gentle determination in her movements. He felt a surge of emotion, love, respect, and gratitude all at once. He realized that what had begun as an unusual arrangement had transformed into something far more meaningful. A deep, enduring bond built on trust, admiration, and shared purpose. "You've become a part of my life in ways I never expected," Thomas said, his voice filled with sincerity. "Not just as my partner, but as someone who has taught me the true meaning of connection, patience, and understanding. I'm grateful for every moment we share." Lily reached for his hand, her smile gentle and warm. "And I am grateful for your willingness to learn, to grow, and to embrace life with an open heart," she replied. "We have built something together, and it will continue to grow as long as we honor each other and the values we share." The seasons continued to change, bringing new growth, new challenges, and new joys. Thomas and Lily worked together to expand the ranch, improve the land, and strengthen the community. They celebrated successes, comforted each other during difficulties, and nurtured a partnership that was rooted in respect, love, and understanding. Their lives were intertwined not only by marriage but by shared purpose, mutual admiration, and a commitment to the well-being of the people and the land around them. Through it all, Thomas reflected on the journey that had brought him here. He remembered his initial doubts, the unusual agreement, and the skepticism he had felt upon first meeting Lily. And now, looking back, he realized how much he had grown, how much he had learned, and how profoundly his life had changed. He understood that the true reward of this experience was not simply the partnership or the marriage, but the transformation within himself, the ability to see, appreciate, and value what truly matters. The villagers celebrated milestones, shared festivals, and came together for every important event, and Thomas and Lily were always at the center, guiding, supporting, and nurturing the community. Their relationship had become a model of partnership, demonstrating that respect, understanding, and shared effort could create harmony, growth, and lasting bonds. In quiet moments, Thomas and Lily would walk together along the streams, through the fields, or beneath the trees, reflecting on their journey and planning for the future. They spoke of dreams, aspirations, and the ongoing work that awaited them, knowing that their partnership was not static but ever-growing. They had learned to balance practical concerns with emotional understanding, work with empathy, and leadership with humility. One evening, as the stars appeared in the sky, Thomas looked at Lily with a sense of profound appreciation. "I once thought beauty was what you could see," he said softly. "Now I know that beauty is what you feel, what you learn, and what you share with the world. You've shown me that, and I am forever grateful." Lily smiled, her eyes shining with understanding. "And you've shown me that learning, openness, and trust can create something extraordinary," she replied. "Together, we will continue to grow, not just as partners, but as part of a larger community, building a life full of meaning, respect, and joy." Thomas felt a deep sense of peace. He had come to the village seeking a practical solution to a problem, and he had found far more than he had ever imagined: a life enriched by love, wisdom, and meaningful connection. He realized that the chief's choice had not been unusual or arbitrary. It had been a gift, a chance to discover the true value of partnership, inner beauty, and the power of shared purpose. As they stood together under the moonlit sky, Thomas understood that this was only the beginning. The journey ahead would have challenges, yes, but it would also have joy, growth, and fulfillment. With Lily by his side, he was ready to face whatever came next, confident in the strength of their bond and the lessons they had learned together. And so, Thomas Harding and Lily began a life not defined by appearances, obligations, or expectations, but by respect, understanding, and love. They nurtured the land, the community, and each other, creating a story that would be remembered for generations, not for the unusual circumstances that brought them together, but for the wisdom, growth, and enduring partnership that defined their lives.